Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome back to Sports Today, and we're back for you with another update, with another day of the news update, the morning news update to be specific. And we know for a fact that today, Thursday, November 10th, big day if you're a fan of Indian sport. That is, of course, because India and England are set to face off in the second semi-final of the T20 World Cup. Now, obviously, we know for a fact that Pakistan have confirmed their passage into the final. They beat New Zealand yesterday, and now it's just a case of England beating India to actually get that dream India-Pakistan final. But England will be looking to play spoil sport, yet it is worth noting that they're having a few injury issues. And in fact, the first news update that we have for you is pertaining said injury issues. Chris Jordan and Phil Salt are expected to come into the playing 11 to replace both Mark Wood and Dawood Malan. You'd note for a fact that, ahead of this match, there were major injury concerns over the two. Wood had been struggling and he's barely bowled through the training sessions that England have had at Adelaide. Phil Salt too was expected to come in because Malan, remember, had a groin problem, so he was always racing against time to be fit. Multiple news reports have confirmed that it seems unlikely that either Wood or Malan will feature, and if that is indeed to be the case, seems likely that it will be these men, Jordan and Salt, who will be the ones stepping in as their replacements. Now, of course, it's a big blow for England. The good thing is, however, both of them are good performers. Jordan, especially in recent years, may have struggled on occasion, but does have a reputation of being one of the best white ball bowlers. Salt, good young batsman, very fearless, as we've seen in recent times. Whenever he's gotten a chance for England, usually grabbed it with both hands. So it does actually mean that England's bench strength is good, but they will, of course, no doubt miss the likes of Malan and Wood. Wood in particular, I would say, because he had been so important to their bowling. He was an express pace option, and Jordan, while a good operator, probably doesn't have the same threat that Wood does. Nevertheless, India will, of course, fancy their chances a little more up against these two than they would have against Malan, who you remember at one point was one of the top-ranked batters in T20 cricket, and Mark Wood, who's an express pace bowler that can trouble even the best of batsmen. Sticking to some cricket news, the IPL 2023 mega auction is set to be held, at least according to sources that have confirmed to multiple news outlets, including us at SportsTak and Sports Today. It is most likely to be held on December 23rd later this year. Now, you'd remember that, of course, a mini auction doesn't necessarily, entail the amount of detail that goes into a mega auction. And there was a mega auction held, of course, in 2022 due to the inclusion of two new teams. But this time around, it's more down to just, franchises releasing players who they have no use for, and maybe a few newer players entering the pool. Mini auctions, while it's probably not as intense as the mega auctions, do tend to see certain teams go big for certain players. So expect a few records to be broken this time around in the mini auction. It hasn't yet been confirmed by the BCCI, but all signs are pointing to the fact that the mega auction will be taking place in December this year. Sticking, of course, to some cricket news, Mohammad Rizwan, you'd remember, had a very decent knock against New Zealand, scored a half century, and was very key to Pakistan actually winning that match and entering the final. Now, speaking after the match, he made a bit of a prediction when he said that, look, we are expecting that India will be there, and I hope that India do in fact make it to the final. All of us are waiting for you in the final, and we can't wait to have that match. Now, obviously, normally you'd see that despite the fact that the fans have a very intense rivalry, players have generally been very, very respectful towards one another, but it does lay down a bit of an interesting marker on what Rizwan said, that, look, we're waiting for you guys. It's not just about brotherly love, it's about wanting to beat a team who, for the most part, have had your number in ICC tournaments. Will India actually give Rizwan and co their wish and make it to the finals? You can let us know in the comments. We all know who it is we're cheering for. This is the reason I'm wearing blue today. So, moving on now from the world of cricket to the world of football. Arsenal, the current Premier League table toppers, have been knocked out of the Carabao Cup, although I don't think that's very high on the priority of most of the big teams, as you'll see based on some of the results that have cropped up last night. Arsenal put out a much-changed 11 against Brighton and Hove Albion, and Albion beat them 3-1 at the Emirates Stadium, no less. So, bit of an upset for Arsenal even then, but again, as I said, probably won't be losing too much sleep over it. They have a Premier League campaign to actually look forward to, and of course, don't forget they're in the round of 16 of the Europa League as well. And don't forget, the FA Cup will be starting later in the year once, of course, we're done with the FIFA World Cup and everything like that. So, good times ahead for Arsenal fans, but they still have wanted to make it beyond where they did in this particular, cup. However, if they are to take any consolation, other big teams, including their London rivals, have also faltered. Chelsea, who were supposed to be facing Manchester City, ended up succumbing to a rather tame 2-0 loss. And again, as I had pointed out, for Arsenal, it didn't seem like a priority. Didn't seem like much of a priority for Chelsea either. They put out a much changed 11, which featured even a few youngsters. So them losing 2-0, not a big surprise. Still, it does put a little bit of pressure on new manager Graham Potter, and obviously it's nowhere near enough pressure that he'd get the sack immediately, because he's just come in and there are obviously things that he'd want to work on, which will take time and long-term planning. But would have been a good match to win regardless. However, they move on now to the next Premier League match, which will of course be the last of the league fixtures before the World Cup preparation gets underway. However, as I said, not the only team that struggled. Tottenham Hotspur were taking on Nottingham Forest away from home and succumbed to a 2-0 loss. Now again, with Spurs, the result actually didn't go down as well, because you remember that Tottenham really do want to be lifting a trophy, and so the best chance they would have would be one of the cups, whether it be the Carabao Cup, whether it be the FA Cup. So them getting knocked out this early, a bit disappointing. Will be interesting to see what the fallout will be from that, because obviously you know for a fact that there is some degree of pressure on Antonio Conte, whether or not he can actually, see through this bit of a storm that has cropped up just before the World Cup, will, I think, define his tenure as Tottenham manager. Moving on from the world of cricket to the world of tennis, just a small update. Iga Swiatek and Rafael Nadal have both been confirmed for the United Cup that will kickstart the 2023 tennis season. Now, the United Cup, for those of you who are wondering, is basically the tournament that will be replacing the ATP Cup, which is a mixed team event. And it's basically a season opener, because again, you'd remember ATP Cup generally takes place in Australia, where of course the first Grand Slam of the year will take place. It's the tournaments that happen in the build up to the Grand Slam. The United Cup is just that, but of course it's good for fans that even before the Australian Open, they will be getting to see the number of top stars strut their stuff in Australian courts. So that should be fun. Don't forget, this weekend we have a bit of F1 coming up, and obviously we'll be previewing this in a little bit more detail later. But the penultimate race of this year, the second last race, will be taking place in Brazil. Now, you'd remember that obviously Lewis Hamilton recently got honorary citizenship of Brazil, so he'd also spoken in detail about how he's really looking forward to the race now, having gotten honorary citizenship and really feeling the love from fans. But if you're a Mercedes fan, Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has a bit of bad news for you, because he said that according to their data simulations, they aren't really expected to be as strong in this particular circuit as they were in maybe Mexico. Anyway, let's see if that little bit of crowd luck and a little bit more luck can actually swing things the Mercedes way. And that is it for this particular edition of the Morning Wrap. Thank you all so much for joining us. As always, if you enjoy what it is that we do, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course tap that bell icon, leave us a comment, and please don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook too. And last but not least, do download the SportsTak app. I hope to see you all with us through the day. There's plenty of stuff going on. India versus England, the build-up will be starting early. There's plenty of hype around that, so stay tuned. We have lots coming for you, and stay with us through the day. But for now, I'm taking your leave, so goodbye.